Do. Quality content coming at you.
That's the new show jingle.
We're not keeping that.
Yeah, no, we're totally keeping that.
Wonderful intro.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in with us again. We are Pixels After Dark. With us tonight is none other than the one and only Tyler TCillustrates himself, and also Ruby, PxlatedTraveler. Really special guest with us, Star. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm doing really good. A little nervous, but, excited to be here.
Don't feel bad and nervous at all, because literally we're all nervous every time. As soon as that stream button goes live, it's like I forget how to talk.
Yeah,
no,
it's me right now,
dude. In post edit, you're gonna sound awesome. Trust me.
Sick.
It's like a Photoshop button, but for audio.
Exactly. Yep. We'll make you sound good. You know what? I stutter a lot of the time, and in the end, I usually even sound good. So if I can make myself sound good, I can make anybody sound good.
Awesome.
This guy's professional.
I wouldn't go that far, but I do know
He's
a few
just
tricks.
average.
I'm average. I'm just an average Joe who figured out some buttons on a computer and watched YouTube a lot. But anyways, thanks again for coming on with us. Just for a little bit, for people who may not know you, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So how I guess, this came about is that I run a Twitter that's just my personal, mostly fan art of Destiny content. Big fan of Destiny. And that's kind of how, my internet presence has come to be. I have very little followers, but it's mostly just for the fun of it. Destiny, I guess. But yeah, I've been drawing forever. If you asked my uncle, he would say that I have been drawing since I was 2 years old, using a Magnadoodle.
Nice.
But they had a little chair table set up, little plastic one, and I would paint stuff, I guess. And the moment my mom and family and I were at a Red Lobster, and I guess I was drawing crabs and sharks and stuff, and it was pretty good. And so they threw me in art class, and they kept going, art class after art class. I ended up having a teacher who did a comic with all different kinds of studios, and actually was at Comic-Con every year. He was really cool, but then continued on, went to an art high school, majored in art in high school, which is unusual, but did that, and ended up moving to Canada and going to an art school there for college for a while, and not doing what I went there for. But I was really into jewelry making while I was there.
Really?
Nice.
Which I went there for illustration. But yeah, so, and here I am now. I've been all over the place. I'm a little bit of a wandering soul, a little bit of a vagabond. So all over the place, but I like to draw. And I'd say outside of work, what I usually am drawing is plant life and Destiny stuff. So
Very cool. Now, going back to the Canada thing, do you have dual citizenship?
no, it was.
No.
I didn't stay there long enough to qualify for that. But if you get accepted into a college in Canada from the U.S. and you most of their programs are 3 years, 4 years, depending on what you do. You basically kind of fast track past a lot of the obstacles that it would take to start citizenship to Canada. You basically just grandfather in to the process really easily. Like you instantly get like ahead of the list for citizenship, and you just have to go through it.
I wonder if that works for online classes.
Hey, that's a good question. You probably have to be there, I'm sure.
Dude,
Just
Canada's
close enough
like 3
to
hours
Canada.
away
It's
from
like
me.
an adoption.
Yeah.
They're like,
It's-
oh yeah, we include the northern states every now and then.
Could take a canoe and get there in time, before dinner.
If you're in
Yeah.
the northern states, you're basically Canada. So
Yeah, we should. Or you know what? Actually, a friend of mine, Dr. Williams, he's up in Canada, in the New Brunswick area. So that's above like Maine. That's like its own climate up there. I mean, when we worry about hitting deer, they worry about hitting moose. And I thought it was a joke. He was serious because his wife last year hit a moose.
Those things are
And-
huge.
I can only
I was
imagine.
about to say, I'd
Oh.
really like to avoid that.
Oh yeah, it'd be like hitting a cow or something like that. They're just massive animals and they do not move. But dude, they got their own weather pattern. But I swear, like one of the coldest places is not in Canada. It's in the US and it's around the Great Lakes. If you live in Michigan or something,
Get a nice
gets like
nor'easter.
a negative 35 degrees or something
It's
like that.
gross.
Like, dude, nope. Sorry. God, bless everybody that lives there. I will not. It's cold enough where I am now, and I'm actually jealous of 2 out of the 4 people on the screen right now. I don't know where you live, Star, so I can't really
I live
say.
in San Diego.
Oh, you're in California too.
Yeah.
So I got
That's
2
even better.
Californias and a
Yep.
Vegas, and I'm in. It's 37 degrees outside right now.
The only reason why I know he's in California is because he posted a picture of this wildlife reserve, like back in May, maybe
Ish,
around there.
It
Yeah,
was just starting to get warm. It was like spring, and it was the wildflower bloom out in Anza-Borrego. Yeah.
Ooh, nice.
and I've mountain biked there, and I recognized his picture, and I was just like, I know where that is because it's beautiful. Like if you ever come to California, you have to come during the super blooms when we have all the wildflowers because it's like mind blowing.
It's awesome.
Like not only are the desert plants blooming, but you have all like the fresh plants after spring with all the rains and stuff. It's crazy. Like where I live, you just go down the mountain and you hit like the Antelope Valley area, and they have poppy fields that go on for miles. I'm not even joking. You can stand in the field and like horizon is just orange, full of poppies. And that's kind of like the place he posted. It's just blooms of everything, cactus, flowering plants, trees are blooming, like everything's blooming. It's crazy.
I feel like we talked about this not too long ago, and it was a place in the UK that was very similar to like the miles long of poppies. I think it was Payne who brought it up, but there's really famous like flower fields in like the Netherlands or something like that. If you
in
ever
the
look it
Netherlands,
up, like there's like whole like we have cornfields here. They have fields of flowers that like they send all over the world. Like, but just seeing these are like just photographs of them is absolutely amazing. And I just saw recently, there's actually a rainbow mountain down in like South America somewhere.
Yeah, in Peru.
I just saw it for the first time the other day. Dude, it looks so amazing. Like, I know living there, you're like, oh yeah, it's
it's a rainbow mountain. Yeah, it's whatever.
Mountain. Yeah. But looking down, just seeing the different layers and all
you
the
just
different
described
colors.
Every California. We're like,
really?
California's terrible. And then you go to other states and you're like, oh man, I love California.
Aw.
Right. But sticking with the plants and everything, Star, what's your preferred medium when you're working on something?
God. I've been jumping all over the place. But I think where I feel like most at home is with, pencil on paper, finishing up with some watercolor and topping off with some ink. And that's kind of like, my preferred, it's my go-to, but I haven't done a lot of that in a long time. It seems like digital is where the business is. So that's kind of where I'm at now. but it doesn't feel natural. And maybe it doesn't help that I don't have a screen on my tablet. I just use a Wacom Pro. I don't use a Cintiq or anything like that. So it's still that awkward. You're drawing down here, but you're looking up here type dealio.
Yeah.
Which I've gotten used to now, but I'm over it. I am like, the moment I get to upgrade to a nicer tablet, it's going to be an awesome day. But yeah, so I would say that my preferred medium is paper with watercolor.
Awesome.
But been a long time.
I did see one you posted. I don't remember when you posted it. It was like a flower. You were doing it for someone. That was gorgeous.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's kind of with the recent Vex pieces I've been doing with the tree trunks and stuff. Like I used to do that kind of stuff, but like on a much more detailed scale, but in paint.
I saw all the line work that you put into that. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
I would love to see Vex done like that.
The Garden of Salvation raid is so sick. I love it.
Oh my gosh.
Just the colors and everything. Last Wish is a real close second, but I think Garden of Salvation is my favorite raid as far as, the visuals. But yeah, I was just like, this is totally up my alley. Plants, greenery, like this is awesome. We're doing it.
That's awesome. What I do love about your digital pieces is, even though it's digital, it feels like marker. And something that I really like about the way that they come out is, like, for example, the piece with the harpy, the tentacles look like, when you do masking and then you spray paint over it and then it looks like that, and it just
that was the goal. Yeah.
It feels really good.
Thank you so much. If it looks like marker, it's because I use the base brush and don't deviate because I don't know more brushes and and I have no idea what I'm doing with Photoshop. So
I feel like that's me and painting digitally as well.
Yeah, all day, every day. So
that's what's nice about digital art now, though, is that you have the ability to make stuff look like it is paints or markers, or like you almost have any medium you could want at your fingertips. It's just like learning how to manipulate it.
Yeah.
So I think that's like the main attraction to digital art now, is like, I love oil painting, but that's super expensive. So for me, digital art is nice because it's like I have access to every color I could ever want.
Yeah.
And I can paint stuff way more than I ever could if I was trying to like buy a canvas or make my own canvas and then buy all the paints that I need. And then like brushes only last like 3 months before you have to replace them, in my opinion. Like, I heard one guy say he'd had brushes for like 5 years. I'm like, no, you haven't.
It's taking care of them, man. But on the flip side of that,
they get destroyed so fast.
I guess it's different with watercolor, though.
Watercolor, I feel like lasts more, but oil, like, I don't care how careful you are, it gets stuck in the bottom, and then it hardens, and then your brush is like, instead of nice and smooth, it's like starting to get frilly.
Yeah. Nah, good.
Yeah.
But
so that was definitely like the draw to me personally, was like, now I can paint or draw as much as I want, and it's not costing me like $500 a month.
But have you gone back and tried to draw on paper and then instinctively try to do like undo with your left?
Just tapping the table? It's
that's
not
me.
working.
That's me. I'm like, oh yeah, I can just undo that. I'm like, no, I'm on paper.
Or as an iPad user, I try to pinch. Pinch to zoom.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
I heard someone say that they did it. I'm like, oh, that's silly. I haven't done that. And then just a week later, I'm like, I caught myself doing that. I just never paid attention. I haven't paid attention.
It's so silly to talk about, but it's totally like your subconscious is just like gotten so used to it now that you do some silly things.
Yeah. You know what's interesting though, and maybe if you're ever up for iPad as a medium, is as someone who, like me, also just uses the basic brush in Photoshop, I feel that iPad Procreate kind of helps me expand and explore other brushes. I don't know how it does it, but it just makes me want to more than otherwise. Like, I don't know, having a screen.
I think it's, to be honest, just personally, I feel like it's because Procreate's brushes are way more
robust,
like user friendly.
Yeah, they are.
There's just a section that says painting brushes, and you click on them, and you're like, wow, it's got watercolor, oil, or like acrylic or gouache. And it's just like, oh, that's okay. I'll just click that one, and oh, it actually works like a watercolor brush. Like, it surprises you versus like Photoshop. Someone's like, oh yeah, just do this setting and this setting, and then you get like an oil paint effect, and you're like,
see, that's where I get lost.
Yeah.
I see everybody in like in the Discord servers and stuff, and I'll talk to various people, and they'll go, "Oh, well, just here, what's your email? I'll send you a brush packet and this and that. I'll have like 50 brushes, but you just need to it's like a cheat code for like Grand Theft Auto, Vice City, or like Nintendo. It's like just combine up, down, A, B, select, and that'll be the watercolor you're going for.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't work, use up, down. No, it's a terrible joke, but you get the reference.
I totally get what you're saying. And that's what I think Procreate on iPad has done really well, is like, it's literally called what it does. Like, you just click it and you're like, wow, that works exactly how it should.
It doesn't feel limited. Like, I've always been worried that it doesn't feel like, it feels like it's not like drawing on your phone, right? Like, it's
no.
Funny enough, Pocket.
I will drive to San Diego. You will use the iPad. And you'll be like blown away.
You'll be sold. Yeah. Just go to an Apple store and just give it a shot. A friend of mine, he went and just bought one because you can buy one and test it out for a week or two before you can give it back without paying anything, and he was so in love with that. Like, but along the lines of what we were saying with brushes is most of the times with Photoshop, like the default nice brushes that would otherwise seem painty, I feel like you have to adjust them to make them feel comfortable. Whereas with Procreate, off the bat, they work so perfectly. I think you would be blown away.
Like, even down to like the sensitivity.
Yeah.
It feels a lot more like paper when you're doing it. Like, you're like, oh man, like I barely press and I'm getting like a really fine, like opaque line. You know what I mean? Versus Photoshop, I feel like I spent days working on the sensitivity of the brush with like syncing it with the tablet.
So then, do you ever find yourself going back to Photoshop then, or do you?
I have not used Photoshop in like 6 months now.
I only use Photoshop for post-processing, like compositing, but for Photoshop, not for painting.
I see.
Yeah, I haven't touched it for painting in over a year or two. I lost track.
Maybe I'll switch. That sounds nice.
Please note this episode is not sponsored by Procreate or Apple.
Yet. But our email's open. No. But that's the only thing right there where Photoshop is accessible across all the different software platforms, and Procreate is still just on ISO, right?
That's the big drawback, I feel like, is that Procreate's not on a computer.
But
yeah,
you can benefit more because Photoshop comes with a huge ball and chain with that subscription service now, where Procreate's what?
One-time fee.
Yeah, it's like $10 one time, and that's it.
It was $10, and then they said every update moving forward, like once you've bought it, every update afterwards is free.
That's
so
awesome.
Like the huge update that's coming out.
Yeah,
I think it's like Procreate 5.
Yeah.
They said anyone who already has Procreate can download it for free, which is mind-boggling.
See, that's huge. Yeah,
I would still pay again for it, even if I had to.
I'd pay another $10 easy.
Yeah, it's not that expensive. It's so cheap. It's like my lunch.
Because now with the Adobe Cloud and all that, I know we're going off the rails, but it just really chaps me how they have so many things that you can utilize in their cloud system. It's all subscription now, and it's like $30 a month if you want to get like 3 or 4 programs. If you want to get like After Effects, Photoshop, and God knows what else. Just off the top of my head, I can't think, but dude, $30 a month. And Procreate does so much now, and it's catching up really fast.
I think and this is continuing off topic, but I think what's cool about Procreate is that what it does well, and it doesn't do any more than that. Like, it is what it is. It's the drawing app. Like, it is for drawing, painting. Like, I think they just implemented the frame save where you can animate using it.
Yes, I was gonna say, excuse you, I've done animation.
But even that, I feel like falls in the realm of like drawing. You know what I mean?
Yes, it is. But it facilitates it very nicely. Actually,
it's not like they have like effects like Photoshop can do, or you know what I mean? Like it
does have a little bit, but just as much as you would need.
That's what I mean. Like, it keeps it simple. Like, I think that's my whole point.
Yeah, like
Procreate
there's no
does what it's supposed to do, and it does it well, and it doesn't need anything else to like hold it up.
It's easy to pick up and easy to discover elements, basically.
Yeah,
I'm kind of sold.
Yes, yeah.
I'm like, I think what Ruby said with just going into an Apple store and just trying it, because a lot of them have the app on it. Like a lot of the demos, because when I went to go buy mine, I didn't know what size I wanted, because I was like, ooh, like I don't know if like the little 9-inch one was going to be big enough. Like, I thought maybe that's going to be weird to draw on like such a small screen. So then I was like, oh, maybe I'll try like the big 11.5-inch one, because it's like paper size. And I tried it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just bought it and walked away.
Perfect. And the great thing is, I think now with that, there's so many different devices now under Apple's umbrella that can really fit anyone's budget. It might be a smaller screen, like an 8-inch or something, but it might be a couple, 2 years old. But if you're just getting into digital art, it's a great place to start for $200 for like a refurbished like iPad, like 9-inch or whatever, and then $10 for Procreate. And then you have Procreate. You just carry it forward if you want to upgrade.
Well, that's how I ended up justifying it, was because like the Cintiq 13-inch or something like that. I forget. It's like $3,000 or something like that. And then you have to then buy the program. So you have to then have Photoshop or whatever you're using. So there's like another cost. And then I ended up getting the biggest iPad I could get plus Procreate for like $1,100. And we did it on like the monthly payment plan because it tied in with our phones. So it was even cheaper. I was like, are you kidding me? For like $30 for a year, I'm getting something that I would have had to fork out huge amounts of money for.
Sorry, I'm still hung up the initial price tag. I'm cheap. So it's like, I heard that. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, no, like, and don't get me wrong. Like, if I was super professional studio painter extraordinaire, like I might look at Cintiq because it's like, that's what I do for a living, but I'm not. So it works for me.
I've worked with those really big, large, fancy Cintiqs, and I'm not. It didn't draw me in. I ended up still just using the regular Intuos. Otherwise, I prefer the iPad just for portability.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, Ruby's super professional studio. Awesome person.
I just work. I work at my place, and that's it. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll get back on the rails. Sorry for that. But getting back to it, I've noticed that you are a jack of all trades. I mean, there are so many different styles and techniques that I see you working on, but I notice you really do love that like flora type.
Mossy Vex.
Right, like that, but it's also incorporated in a lot of different pieces if you look through his portfolio a little bit deeper. But what motivates you to create?
Well, I'm like, I'd say probably the biggest thing, and it goes back to the floral stuff, is that I'm like hugely outdoorsy. Backpacking, mountaineering, those are like the dreams. I backpack all the time when I can, when my car is not in total shambles, but and I can actually get places. But yeah, like just the natural world around us is incredible. And like, you know, sometimes I'll see a leaf or whatever on a tree and you're just like, damn, like I gotta draw that or whatever. You know what I mean? It's about as close as perfection, I'd say, as you can get in this world. But so I'd say, you know, nature, huge motivation for me. You know, later on in life, yeah, I played video games when I was younger, but not as much as some of the, you know, big time gamers would say that they did. You know, I wanted an Xbox when it came out, and my brother convinced my mom to get a GameCube. And I was really bummed about it. Later on, I appreciated it because GameCube is the best console ever. But like I just, you know, I didn't always get what I wanted as far as gaming goes, which I'm thankful for because it brought me to be outside more. But you know, gaming art books like The Art of Destiny. I'm looking at that Art of Death Stranding book already, and it's only a pre-order.
Oh my
but
goodness.
like, though that kind of art, the concept art, which I honestly cannot do, or at least, you know, I've never tried to do it, but like that kind of, they achieve such an atmosphere and such like a likeliness, such a you know, with the most basic strokes, they can get something to look how it's supposed to look. That's pretty inspirational, I'd say. So I've been, you know, I used to be super, as many lines as it took, but clean lines to make something look realistic. Now I'm kind of more so trying to go into a mixture, but lately it's been experimenting with the least amount of lines I can do to make something look the way it's supposed to look. But, and I think there needs to be a balance. I think there really needs to be a balance of that. I'm really bad at that. I've always been super out of my comfort zone with, you know, messy lines. I don't like messy lines at all. Really, like personally, teachers have always tried to get me to just loosen up with the pen strokes and stuff, and I'm like,
no,
like it's super uncomfortable. Like this is not happening. But I have grown up a little, I think. But yes, right. So game art, nature, huge motivations.
Photography.
Yeah, that's new. That's real new. I have a pretty crappy camera. That was a hand-me-down I bought from a friend. And I haven't done a lot of it lately. Again, can't always get out there to take pictures right now. But photography is pretty fun. I used to not respect that as an art form when I was younger. Like I had this photography teacher in high school who hated me, straight up hated me. I never had her as a teacher, but all the other art teachers had me as a teacher, and all the other students held me, I guess, as a standard, which they shouldn't have. But my name got tossed around a lot in her classroom, I guess. And she finally found me out in the courtyard one day. I had no idea who she was really, and she just had to let me know that I am not a standard. I'm like, I never thought I was.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, I don't know who you are, but photography sucks. But yeah, because I knew she was a photography teacher at the very least. But now I definitely respect it. My grandfather was a landscape photographer as a hobby. And he was really good at it. And I started kind of falling for it a little bit more. But I do enjoy it a lot. I want a better camera real bad. But yeah, so
you're just picking all the expensive hobbies.
It's terrible.
I'm like, even backpacking is
terrible.
like, I know my backpack was not cheap.
Yeah, I mean,
pick up rock climbing, man. Buy some of that gear.
No, I'm solid.
Get some anchors and a rope. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I have a couple pieces and I have what I need if I fell down a cliff, and that's about it.
Yeah.
You get three drops on a rope and you got to retire it. So 3 lead falls. And dude, you're talking a couple $100 for a rope.
The camming devices. Yikes.
The mechanicals, yeah, they're like $45 a piece. Usually shop for those around the holidays when they got them on sale. We got Eastern Mountain Sports out here, and luckily a friend of mine still works with them as a climbing guide out in New Paltz. So I'm able to get a discount through him if I need to buy anything. But dude, so expensive for outdooring anything.
It is. Slowly but surely, man. I spent an entire year just the moment I had a little bit of money, found a deal. Like I got almost an $800 sleeping bag that was like for like the most sub temperatures, and I got it like on sale at an REI garage sale for like $100. I was like, got it,
dude. Those are the best.
I was toasty as heck on the top of Mount Whitney. Yep.
Like REI garage sales are the best. We got a pair of kayaks that would have cost us like $1,000 for $280 or something like that. I was like,
pair?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, it was 2. And I was like, hey, I'm not stealing these, right? Like, I was confused about the price. I was like, someone switched the tags or something. Like, what is happening?
You gotta battle the other people though to get these deals because they swarm.
Yeah,
it's a
madhouse for sure.
Quick little sale.
There you go. There's your tip right there. If you want to do anything outdoors, look out for REI's garage sales and get ready to Black Friday elbow somebody out of the way to get that deal.
Absolutely. No one says sorry.
You gotta get a little loop for Reagan.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, for sure.
No, that's awesome. That's really cool about your grandfather being a landscape photographer and starting to see kind of what he saw in the beauty of that. Myself, I live in central New York, and I'm not far away from Ithaca. And there's a lot of gorges, and it's wine country, all the Finger Lakes and everything. Mm-hmm. I had a cheap, to me back then, it was $200. It wasn't cheap, but it was a cheap camera digital camera I would carry with me wherever I went in my car. And I would pull over whenever I saw something like that really took me. And I have photographs throughout my house that are hanging in frames that I took. And one of them that stands out, I'll never forget it. It's a really off the rails thing, but it's amazing what things will draw you with photography, especially like outdoors. I was stuck in a blizzard whiteout on my way home from Ithaca up on a hill, and there was a winery just off to the right. And while I was parked there for about 10 minutes waiting for them to clear up an accident in front of me, a ways, here you're overlooking this entire valley of just the winter scene of a wine vineyard. And up on top, they had barrels sitting out for their winter. I don't even know what it was, but there was a nice light pole right there. Dude, it was just so gorgeous. I went down, left my car running on the road and took my camera and walked down there and took pictures for about 5 minutes and then ran back up and got in the car. And then I printed them out, and I've actually printed, I don't know how many copies of that specific print for friends that they have hanging in their house. It just came out perfect. And it's just one of those things where just having that camera, nowadays phones are better cameras than cameras themselves now, but just having that with you to capture those moments, even if you were to go back and draw it later, is a huge to have that availability, and then you really find something special, out of that.
I always have my camera on me.
Do you?
Always have your camera on you. Yeah. I used to always have my sketchbook on me, but now it's my camera. So
the great thing is you can take a picture of it and then later put it on your computer, blow it up, and sketch it if you want,
Absolutely.
it's 25 degrees outside. I don't feel like sitting out there drawing that, but I'll take a picture of it and draw when I get home when it's 75.
Yeah, absolutely.
To
All right.
convince you more on the iPad, but the iPad has a camera, so you take a picture and then draw on it. It's a double win.
That's tracing and that's cheating.
That's tracing.
No. I'm saying you take a picture for reference and then draw later.
For sure.
Well, here's another take is iPad is a modern sketchbook you can take with you anywhere and have a camera.
And it makes your coffee. No, I'm joking.
Even more so.
You could order dinner on it. You could have somebody deliver your Starbucks to you too.
Yeah.
You can go to
Did I go too far? I'll edit that. I'm really getting off the rails. Anyways, to get us back on, Tyler, you want to bring us into projects?
Absolutely. So
right.
I know every artist kind of does stuff differently when it comes to projects. Do you do any research before you start something, or do you just kind of dive into it? You're just like, I'm going to wing it.
It depends what I'm doing. When I was in college and, those professors will throw you a theme or something that's just really a wrench in your preference as far as what you like to draw and stuff. Like, I was so fed up with it once. I had to stamp my feet in ink and walk across paper just to like please my professor, basically. Like, not into it, but so when it's a concept I'm not familiar with, for a theme or whatever, I'm not, I very rarely take commissions from people that want something I'm not comfortable with, but I'll do research if it's not something I know about. References are great. And I do use those, but within my comfort zone with plants and such, I can draw a lot from memory, but I think it's always good to have seeing it in action, whether it be a reference or even in person, I think is better than just kind of winging it, just because you're going to get more of how it should be rather than your memory of it. Yeah. But as far as my process goes, I do find myself, which I didn't do when I was younger, but lately I was thinking about it. I do kind of what was that Sherlock term, like mind palace it? Like I kind of like imagine the thing before it happens, I guess. Like I have this image, like this little image going on in my head. And it's weird because it's kind of like a 3D kind of look too. Because even though it's a 2D drawing, I'm trying to imagine, well, if I'm standing this far away from the object as the viewer in this image, is it going to be darker or lighter that far away? And it can go both ways. Some people with landscapes, like hills, get lighter the further back they get. Whereas if you're in a room, objects get darker the further back they get. Right? Like I guess it depends on the lighting. But
I never even thought of that, but that's an awesome observation. I never even thought about like you said, inside rooms or whatever, because it's artificial lighting.
Yeah.
So like you said, the closer objects are usually lit a lot better.
And it probably has to do with, when there's a direct source of light, like a light bulb or something, that is obviously producing shadows and stuff. But whereas if it's an atmospheric lighting, then it does a whole totally different thing. It does the whole lighter effect as it gets further back. And that might just be like a hazy look with landscapes, I guess. But, so what I mean is, when I'm imagining an image, if I have something to base off of, I kind of put myself in this 3D image in my brain where I'm like, all right, like this object should be here and it's going to make a shadow on this object here. I kind of just wing it. Again, if people ask me my process, there is really no method to my madness. I'm a terrible practicing artist, but yeah, I mean, and if I were to say anything as far as like a recommendation as far as process goes, what you can do to better your art, if I'm giving you that little tip, I would say is Art 1-2, which usually translates to the basics of art, like spherical shading and doing like light to dark strips or whatever.
Right.
Like everyone hates them. I hated it. Every one of my students hated it, or every one of my classmates hated it. Everyone hates it. But I would say, I was talking to my mom about this when she asked me a similar question. is that it's probably the most important thing ever to my progression as an artist is that Art 1-2 class you take when you're like 15 years old in an art class in high school, because it's like the basis for everything you do in this whole like progression.
Right.
You know,
it's kind of like, yeah, I think like you said, it's kind of like learning to crawl before you walk, learning to walk before you run, kind of thing. Like there are certain steps that you do have to take with art, but it's funny you mentioned the like Art 1-2, because we've had a couple of other artists say similar things of like you said, spherical shading, or like Clinton's big thing was like perspective. He was like, I considered myself like a professional artist, and he still took perspective classes because he was like, you sometimes just have to go back to the basics, which is crazy to think about. Like that, those fundamentals are what build you up so much.
Absolutely.
But just personally, like after viewing your art, you can tell like the fundamentals you nail, because like you said, the I don't know, the simple lines that you now do in some of your work where it's like, it's so suggestive. So your brain automatically takes it to where it needs to go rather than like you having to draw everything out.
That's really what I'm trying to go for. Like, you know, I'm trying to get the point across without really having to do it. You know what I mean? And I'm hoping that later on, you know, we're all students for the whole entirety of our lives. I'm hoping that, you know, as my life goes on, and as I go on and hope that I get better as an artist, even, I hope that I can mix anything I learn out of that into a better art piece, hopefully down the road. But so as far as my progress goes, my process goes, it's pretty flimsy, pretty not well constructed, I tell you what. I do try to keep things organized, and do
you name your layers?
I do. I do name my layers. I do. I'm a stickler for it. Like, I cannot have a layer 1 sitting there. Even if I have the rest of them labeled and I add one, I cannot start drawing on that layer until I have named it.
That's awesome. I'm totally opposite.
Half of them are
Mine
misspelled.
says like background 17. I'm like, oh, that's his face.
Terrible. I can't.
I know.
I've seen some artists where they just like, you know, just start like clicking on the keyboard to name,
right,
and it's just total scribble. Like,
I'm not that bad. I've seen people where it's like layer 1240. I'm like, oh gosh.
And then some of those super crazy concept artists never leave the first layer.
Right. Yeah.
And it's nuts.
Props to them.
I know.
I think that's like you said, once you're a master of the basics, I feel like that's when you can get away with stuff like that, because you're like, I don't make a mistake on the fundamentals, so I'm just going to stay on this layer.
Yeah.
Or rather, I think their take on it would be there are lots of little mistakes that turn into happy endings.
Probably.
Maybe.
You gotta wing it if you're
always right.
I mean,
why is he always right?
I kind of like to think of like those concept artists, some of the really crazy good ones. Like, you know, they're similar to that of like a kung fu master. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, it's all of just like this.
I love the reference.
Going with the flow. So maybe they're just winging it, but you know, it's all of an extension of themselves. So it ends up being masterful.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think some of those guys that you can consider like modern day masters, it's totally like, oh, I was gonna put a truck here and now it turned into a robot, but whatever, it works. Like,
I've seen not speed paints, but like sped up process videos where I'm like, that is clearly an object that is no longer in the finished piece.
Yep.
Like, it totally is not what it was.
Yep. It's amazing, like some of the rock formations they do in landscapes, where I'm like, I didn't
looks so
picture that as a
effortlessly.
big boulder. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't expecting that.
Speaking of a specific artist, thinking about this all the time because it looks so simple, like as a whole image. It's actually a huge inspiration for those Vex pieces. Actually, I do not know his name, but the guy who does the art in the recent Grimoire anthologies.
Yes.
Oh my god,
Peter something, right?
I'm not sure.
I'm misquoting. He is someone though, like you said, where it's like I've seen his speed paintings, and it starts as like a blob, and then he's like, "Oh, just kidding. This is like a dinosaur." And you're like, "What?" What?
But I do feel like
he gray on the canvas.
Absolutely, but he really does like really masterfully. That I think I could be wrong, but I think he really does the whole. You know, it only seems like a few different shades in this one area, but it's what's happening is your eye is seeing this object or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's so simplistically, so simply done.
If you zoom in, like it doesn't look like anything.
Make sense.
Yeah,
but like it looks so coherent.
Yeah,
when it's done, I love it.
Very suggestive.
Yeah. But anyways,
well,
awesome.
Since we kind of picked your brain as far as research goes, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, but what kind of like tools or techniques do you utilize? I know some people do start with just like simple shading and then moving on to like fully rendering a piece, or do you just kind of dive right in and you're like, no, I'm going to color this from head to toe straight off the bat?
I feel like I have so much more. Sorry.
I'm curious, like as well about like the negative space that you use, like you just erase away.
I do. Yeah. I just erase away.
He's like, you nailed it.
That's absolutely it. I feel like my process with that is completely different from digital to paper. On paper, like I'm instantly going into the line art. Mm-hmm. Like when I'm drawing a person on paper, like I'm already going full features without, I'll start on the eyes without even knowing like the full shape of the face, which might be a bad decision, but it's just kind of how it ends up happening for me. But digitally, I'm doing the full circles, cylinders, lines through the face. Like I'm going bare bones from the ground up when it comes digitally. For some reason, I think it's just because it feels like I can erase away everything so easily.
Yes,
that
it's just so like, messy. When you have too many lines, it gets too thick, and then you're not happy with the shape, so you add a bit more, and then it becomes thicker and embeds itself even more into the paper.
Yes, I don't do that on paper. Exactly.
You guys are like giving me anxiety, just like diving straight into it on paper. Like I feel my heart. It's like, oh my gosh, no.
Gosh, I had people tell me, you should start with the circle, with the line stuff, and I'm like, no. I'm like, the end piece will look way cleaner if I just dive into it. But I guess I have been, when I'm really sitting down and looking at something, I guess I have been a little blessed with an eye to be able to replicate it fairly well.
I was just going to say that I feel like that's a really good sign of just your artistic ability to be able to dive into something like that.
Yeah, that's practice.
Well, it may have been messy when I was younger, but I kind of had it when I was little too. And, I don't know. I think that's what my mom would say would be the talent. But, I strongly believe that anyone can learn to an extent. You know what I mean? Like there's some people who have the gift to learn to become a really good artist. And there's some people who are, I think, born with a little bit of a talent in some direction, whether it be that they have a really good, eye to paper.
Yeah. I would say maybe you were a very observant child when you were younger.
Maybe.
So that may have given you a kickstart, in what some people would call talent. Is just you already had some prerequisites in there.
Something in my brain eyes was like, I got that.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. But yeah, so I forgot what I was talking about. Like, what was?
See how easy it is to go off the rails?
The method to your madness.
Yeah.
The techniques that you kind of utilize.
Techniques. Like I said, I'm crazy, I guess. I barely understand Photoshop, man. I really don't understand it at all to this day. And now I'm sitting here like, why didn't I buy an iPad? but yeah, my techniques are really bad. I just follow the rules, I guess, and then branch out once the base is there.
You put it together and it looks like you know what you're doing.
It's really like the first Vex piece where it's the goblin that's like dead next to a tree stuff.
Yeah, all covered and stuff.
I'm looking at that one right now. Yeah,
I was too.
It's so
my
pretty.
head.
There was a lot more there. Like there was in the Garden of Salvation when you get to the jumping puzzle part where there's those huge beams that are like circling with like the little light strips on them, and they're like, you're climbing up to get up to the waterfall that you fight the final boss at.
Okay.
Like those, there was like a lot of that going on in there. There was a lot more like Vex structures in it, and like I just started there. Like that, it didn't look anything like that, and it was just kind of me scribbling around, highly motivated by the new Bungie emblem.
Okay.
Hugely
Bungie noticed me.
Hugely motivated, and I was just like, I'm gonna get a piece done right now, and I got that done in like 4.5 hours. Posted it.
You did that in 4.5 hours. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I heard you right.
Yeah, about 4.5 hours.
I'm a little sad about that.
It was like, I'm like, going at it. And
like that's some Clinton Felker crap. Like where you guys are like, I made like a masterpiece in like a couple hours. It's fine. And like the rest of us are like, I'm going to go cry in my pillow.
I'm with you, man.
Yeah. That artist emblem though. No, but yeah, it was just like, I need it. The moment they posted about it, I was like, I'm making art right now. I don't care how busy I am. I put that on the back burner so much work I was supposed to be doing. And I was just like, I'm drawing this for the next however long it takes me. And then right afterward, I had already started the sketch for the harpy piece because I was like, I'm doing this tomorrow. So I like laid down the groundwork for, I'm like, I think it's going to float this way a little bit. And then went to bed, woke up, started going ham on that. I was just like,
so I'm with Ruby. Like for the harpy piece, I think that for me, like she was talking about the negative space, like how did you decide what you were going to erase and what you weren't? Because it almost gives it a 3D vibe without it being 3D, and then it kind of molds into like a 2D image. I don't know. It's
the little tentacles were drawn. Like I had them outlined and everything. But then, when they fray out the whole tentacle bit in the game, they're lit up, right? Mm-hmm. Some of them are blue. Mm-hmm. Most of them are purple though, the general Vexy kind of look. But, so it's more or less, it was originally kind of a black and white, they were kind of black and white pieces, but just a little bit of color added on in the end. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I don't really want to try and put all the effects in to make it look like maybe it was glowing. So I just erased it, and I was like, that looks nice. I'm just gonna make a light colored background to kind of just make it seem like there's substance there, and then I'm just gonna erase out with a smoothing tool, erase out the tentacles. They're nice and clean, and it looked good.
Well, like even the tree base, it like the
flowers.
It like digs into it almost. I don't know. It's almost like you painted the whole thing and then like carved away at it, which I think is what gives it like the 3D feel. It goes back to me like illustrating plant life all the time.
And then, I was obsessed with, old timey plant illustrations, and even like animal illustrations that you'd see in like an Audubon book or whatever. A lot of those artists, I think, utilize the paper itself as the highlights and kind of as a medium in itself, like within the piece itself, not just as the paper you're putting it on. So like, the bark and stuff is more or less the white of the background. And then just put the details in and any of the dark spots. I don't know.
Or in some cases, some people will use a medium colored paper traditionally and then add white highlights with like a paint marker, those white paint markers.
I've always loved that.
Yeah.
I love that. I can't do it. I've tried. Digitally has made this a little bit more possible. But for me, I used to try and do like on a colored paper sketches and then use like a white chalk or something to do the highlights on that. And it's always a mess.
You know who actually does that, and I love it, is Aaron Blaze. I don't know if you guys know who he is. He was the lead artist for like Moulin Rouge, or not. Wow, not Moulin Rouge. Mulan, the movie. He was a Disney artist. He was a character artist for The Lion King, and then he became the senior artist for Mulan. But he does like animal portraits and stuff, like traditionally. And he does charcoal drawings, but then he does the white gel pen over the charcoal drawings. And if you haven't seen it, you got to check it out because it's absolutely like mind-boggling. He's like you. He cranks it out in like 2 hours, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's just like a sketch I did." And I'm like, "Shut up, just shut. It's fine."
Yeah.
Some of our local Destiny fan artists, Cobb one does that a lot, and actually the white paint I picked up from Ian Pesty, who every now and then shares some of his traditional pieces, and they are gorgeous.
I'm so bad with names. I know that name. I know Cobb. I'm so bad with names. I was playing Destiny with Steph. That's her name, right?
Yes.
Steph.
Steph is incredible.
I was playing with her. Yes. That's her name on Destiny. That's right. And I don't know why, but I thought for like 2 seconds, she was, what's the other artist that has a similar kind of look?
Kevin.
Yes.
Rag.
Kevin.
Rage, Rag. Shoot. Kevin something.
Yeah.
But it's
Kevin
terrible.
TV or something.
The other chibi artist who does the official stuff.
Yeah. And I know that, I know that he's a dude. I still confused her with him. I'm so bad with names. I'm like, oh, this is awkward. But she didn't seem like she took it too personally that I made that mistake. Also, I helped her get the whisper.
Cool.
So
she's cool.
He's
like, I did help her get the whisper collar pop.
Some loot. So like, who doesn't love loot?
She's great. I'm sad that I lost so many friends in the Steam
You didn't come with?
I didn't get a lot of people's info. I need to message them and get their info. Because like I had a lot of cool people to game with, and I'm like, man, I need to get their info again.
Do you play on
the jump
PC or just?
I'm on Steam. Yeah, I'm on PC. I've played everything, man. I had it on 360. I had it on Xbox One, PlayStation. Like, I was all over the place at one point because my brothers and I are hugely competitive when it comes to gaming. And when Trials first came out, it was me and my 2 brothers. And actually, it's funny that part of the reason why I agreed to go on this show was because I was asked to be on a podcast a long time ago with my 2 brothers because the 3 of us were exceptionally good at Trials. Like
Nice.
we would go flawless over and over and over and over and over again at the night. And then when it became 4 players, we were like, this is great. We'll bring someone to carry to a flawless victory. And we made a lot of friends that way. But they wanted to interview us because we didn't communicate. Like we just had such good chemistry that like my brothers knew how I play. I knew how they play. They're monsters, by the way, at that game. And like it was awesome. Like we went flawless 9 times
so much
in the first day.
Oh, you suck, man!
And we were just like, this is awesome. But
oh my goodness.
I was about to say, I don't think a lot of people that know you know how good you are at PvP. But that was something that I noticed because when the Not Forgotten quest came out, this guy over here is like, oh yeah, I already got it. I'm like, what? Like he got it in the first release, which for those of you that don't play Destiny, when it first came out, it was extremely hard to get because everyone was trying to get it.
Yeah.
So the fact that he got it, I was like, man, I thought I was like decent at PvP. Apparently, Star over here is like a ninja.
Not really. You should see the 2 other brothers. Like, okay. They make me look bad. But actually, we have a clanmate. His name's Yav, and he streams. But he's definitely better than me. But he just got Unbroken.
Nice.
He didn't really care about it, but he was like, you know,
He's like,
it's so easy to solo queue right now, but I'm gonna go for that final season. And it's so funny because sometimes he'll jokingly, you know, mean on people with Mountaintop Recluse.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, there's some people who didn't get Unbroken in the first 4 seasons, and it really shows. Because if you use that setup, I'm like, you don't deserve the title. But yeah, so I always joke with him about it because he just got it. But
hey, Star.
Yeah,
I gotta know. Please feed my imagination. What classes do the 3 of you play?
So originally,
it better be Titan Hunt and Warlock.
Originally, I've always been a hunter main.
Okay.
For life.
Yes,
but I play all 3.
Okay.
But my other brother, the middle one, he also was a hunter, but he plays all 3.
Okay.
He finds that he is crazy when he plays on Warlock and Titan because they are thumb-sucking classes, as one of my clanmates would say. But and then the youngest one is a Titan, and he's nuts.
That's so fun! 2
He's
hunters.
Nuts.
Titan.
Dude, he used to get so much hate mail because the kid would just be Titan skating around mid-air, headshotting with snipers, and they're just like, you guys play stacked. And I'm like, you just got beat by a 13-year-old.
Oh, little brother.
That's Call of Duty all over again. Great.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is awesome. I love that you can play with your brothers too. I think that's something a lot of siblings wish they could.
We did not get along before. Destiny
until trials.
I have friends who crap on Destiny all the time, and you know, it has its things it can fix. It does the things it does well. But one thing that I always praise Destiny for is that it brought my brothers and I together. We're super close now because of that game. Like even in person, like we are super close. But also the bestest friends I've ever had in my life. Like we're met over Destiny raids and trials, and you know, now we are a fairly large clan of friends. And you know, I have friends in Minnesota and New England, and they fly here every year, and we hang out. We go to Disneyland. You know, it's my turn to fly to Minneapolis now because I've been making them fly here. So, you know, that game honestly made some of the best relationships I've ever had, and some of the best art I've ever made, I think, in my opinion. So
very cool.
That is really cool.
All right, so what do we got next? Keep on rolling.
I think time management, everyone's Favorite subject.
Oh, goodness.
I am a slippery slope if I get off track. I have always traditionally been a morning person, not a night person. I like waking up at 6 a.m. historically.
That's the sign of a serial killer.
I like watching the sunrise, man. Watching the sunrise, a cup of coffee or tea. That's my go-to. But
wait, how do you have your coffee?
I was gonna ask tea, so that's interesting.
How do I have my coffee?
Yeah, how do you take your coffee?
I think how I prefer it most is just a standard, like, if I had my way, it would be like a latte with almond milk.
Okay, he's fine. He's safe.
But I'm fine with drip coffee and a little bit of milk, a little bit of sugar.
What kind of tea do you drink in the morning? This is the real test.
My personal favorite is oolong, but I am chill with green teas and just typical black tea and stuff too.
Do you like Earl Grey?
There's no other options, but it's not my go-to.
So a solid no.
Yeah.
What's wrong with Earl Grey?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I don't know if
he's ready to throw it in the harbor. That's
I don't. Yeah. No, I don't go out of my way to have it. I don't really have anything wrong with it, but I don't go out of my way to have it.
Okay. Jasmine green tea.
That's me. Yeah.
It's my go-to.
I love green tea. It's so good.
But time management. If I wake up at my normal time and I start getting on my schedule, I work at least 6 hours. I try to keep myself, in the groove for like 6 hours. I can accomplish anything. Is kind of my thing, and as long as I don't deviate from that, no hiccups, I'm smooth sailing. But the moment that a friend wants me to like go out, we'll go play DDR, and the arcade can stay open until pretty late, and then I wake up late. It's gonna be rough for the next like day and a half, 2 days to get me back on schedule. Like I am just ruined. But yeah, so I have to be like I need structure. Like I really need structure.
How'd you do with the time change?
With the time change, like Canada wise, you mean?
Like how we recently rolled the clocks back.
Does Canada do that?
Does not bother me.
Nice.
I don't know if Canada does that or not. I can't recall, but I'm not really bothered so much by daylight savings and stuff. It doesn't really mess with me as long as my phone knows that it's going to be 6 a.m. when it's supposed to be 6 a.m. Then we're good. I don't care. But yeah, so as long as I stay structured, my time management skills are pretty good, and I'm becoming way better at juggling multiple projects. So. That's good.
How many will you... Oh, sorry.
No, it's good.
How many will you juggle at a time?
I try to keep no more than 5 going on.
5?
I usually do them, one after another, usually. But right now, I have 10 on the back burner. I delve in various communities. So, I prioritizing things differently, I guess, when I have multiple things going on. But I have 10 normal like work comms going on, and then I have a project for some Destiny peeps, and then I had an old commission from before the 10 I had gotten. The 10 are supposed to be quick, but yeah. So I was doing like 3 at once today. Today I was like, I'm going to do the first 3 hours for this one, next 3 hours for this one, next 3 hours for this one, take dog for a walk, stream.
How do you transition between each one, like to get yourself from one to the other, just the mental state?
I'm not sure. I guess maybe this could be a stretch. I listen to different music depending on what I'm working on. I almost exclusively listen to the Destiny soundtrack when I'm doing Destiny work.
That's actually another one of our questions.
There we go. But and And then, like when I'm working, so like I did thank God he's hiring someone to do new artwork because it's old and it's terrible. But I had done some artwork for Cami Cakes at one point. And when I was doing that, like I'll listen to Bife or something, I have to like be listening to some kind of white noise to get me through it. Hugely into like Blade Runner soundtracks and stuff like that to when I juggle projects. I'm always changing the music. I'll go from classic rock when I'm just working on a painting to a soundtrack when I'm working on an actual project or whatever. Like I think music changes depending on what I'm working on. And I have multiple. The nice thing about Macs is, I have different windows. So I'll have different things up on different windows. So I know I can just scroll. I'm like, all right, I'm going over here. I have references open to this one over here. Like it's pretty easy transitioning. I just don't think too much about it, I guess. Maybe that's
okay. No, it works out for you. You said earlier that you do jewelry art.
I used to. I haven't done a lot lately. That's a troublesome hobby. Troublesome. Yeah, like you got to buy the metal. Depending on what you're doing, like I was etching a lot, so I had to buy harmful chemicals that were always like, how do I dispose of this? How do I store it? I have dogs. Like,
I have dogs.
Yeah.
It's so true though. Like dogs get into everything. That's why it made me laugh so much, because it's like, where do you put it? You put it on like the highest shelf you can imagine.
Basically, but then also like most of those chemicals to etch burn through anything, so you have to have them in a specific kind of container, and then it's a hassle. I love it. I love it so much. It was nice to do it in college because it was just a nice organized location to work on it. But when I brought it back home, I bought it. My mother helped me buy a kiln, and she enjoyed doing enameling with me. We took classes together. So like that's the other thing. I had such a supportive mom to do all these different art things. She pushed me. She calls herself my manager. She does not manage my business whatsoever, but she likes to think of herself as the manager and always trying to get me to do something cool and new. And most of the time I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And I never do it. But jewelry was one of the things that she sparked. That was all her. But and my aunts are pretty crafty. So, they're always doing leather work, doing something.
Oh, wow.
But
creativity runs in the family. Huh?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, a little bit.
I love that.
Even with my dad too, he's an electrician, but I swear to God, if you see him change out an electrical panel and then put the wires in together, it looks like you could take a picture of it and put it in one of those fancy galleries in New York. And you're like, wow, contemporary art at its finest of an electrical panel by my father. But like no joke, everything's perfect where it's supposed to be.
Cable management.
It is better than anything I've ever seen.
Tier
organization.
1.
Yeah. But
just happen to have to change a power box out. Does he travel? I mean, I can get him to come out to my house.
He just moved, not really moved, but moved to San Francisco because he just got a job there. So for a while. But
maybe we can Skype and he can walk me through
it. There you go. He charges by the minute.
He's got some crazy stories, I tell you what. I don't have like anything. I don't know. He's great. He's also very creatively minded, but
that's awesome.
Yeah. Actually, that would be very fascinating as a random fact.
Oh, I see what you did there. Nice transition.
A random fact. Well, the one I was,
yeah, let's hear it.
I was ready for this question.
Yeah, let's hear it.
The one, it's really not that interesting, but I'm obsessed with plants, as I've already established. I grow a lot of orchids and other plants. And one thing not a lot of people know about, but one thing I'm really proud of in my own collection is that vanilla comes from an orchid, which not a lot of people know about. And also, it's usually falsely advertised as a flower that vanilla does not come from on most packaging. But true vanilla,
I didn't know that at all.
And extracts and stuff comes from an orchid. And it's the only one of the only orchids that grows as a vine.
Whoa. Is it easy to grow, and how do you extract vanilla from it?
It is. So a lot of people think that orchids are tough to grow. They're a little picky, but as long as you kind of like, poke and prod and figure out what it wants and don't overthink it, let them kind of be them by them on their own, they'll do what they're supposed to do. But vanilla orchids are actually, I think, pretty easy to grow. You could grow them in a colder climate, or in a warmer climate. You just have to keep them near, I'd say, a south-facing window.
Okay.
Don't let them get burned, but they won't produce until the vine is 10 feet long.
Oh, that's so tall.
And I have a post in the pot. I have 6 vanilla plants, and I have posts that are 5 feet tall, and they just like one of them is about that, like half a foot over the post. So what they do is they grow them up, and then they grow them down, and then they grow them up again, and they'll just have them go up and down. As long as they feel like they're climbing something, they will grow well. You can't have them like hang like a hanging plant, or it will die. Like they're not. They're not. They know they're not vertical.
Oh my goodness! I would love to see a photo of your vanilla plants.
I will post one these days.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm down.
They are picky little suckers, that's for sure. But they'll flower, and then you have to hand pollinate them because most of the little critters that would pollinate it live in a specific part of the world.
Okay.
But so you'll hand pollinate it.
Like
hopefully do
tips
it right.
Or something.
Usually with like a toothpick or like a Q-tip or something. Hand pollinate it. And within a week or so, you'll start seeing the seed pod grow, which ends up becoming the bean. Take it off,
so cool.
Dry it, all that jazz. But it's pretty sick. And not a lot of people know that about vanilla, orchids.
Oh, I didn't know that at all.
I thought vanilla was a bark. I'm not even gonna lie, like cinnamon.
Yeah, like that little picture where they show like a little
I knew it was a bean, but I didn't know it came from an orchid. Like, that's kind of mind-boggling to me because
some of those beans are pretty long. I mean, if you buy them raw, they're like freaking like 4 inches.
I can only imagine how big, like he said, like 10 feet. Like, that makes sense now.
Well, they, I think I could be wrong. They're from South America, and Central America, but like, they have crazy jungles of canopy trees, and they need light. They're actually an orchid that needs quite a bit of light.
Man.
These vines will go all the way up to the top of trees.
Yeah.
So they can be freaking huge.
Both chocolate and vanilla, like South and Central America.
Yeah.
Yeah, chocolate.
I've tried to grow chocolate before.
You okay? Really? How did that go?
It did not go well. I've also tried to grow coffee, which went better, but still went badly because occasionally San Diego can get it. Yeah, we can, but you get one good, if you're not careful, you get one good winter. They're like, no.
I love the chuckle. He's like, yeah, that does tend to happen to a lot of our crops. Is like, you get the frost.
Yeah, and
out of nowhere.
we can expect one weekend or whatever of it, right?
Yeah.
But then sometimes you get that one straight 2 weeks of pretty cold weather, and none of our plants are into that.
Yep.
So
you've described my garden.
Aww.
Trash bags or grocery bags over the roots. There you go.
Yeah, we're doing the. It's like the mesh that absorbs the heat from the sun, and then it keeps it, and it worked for like a little bit, and then
you also have to protect the leaves too.
Yeah, last year we just had.
It's also winter. Like, you guys are trying to grow full gardens in winter.
No, well, so normally our winter is not winter. Like, you have winter, we have like it got colder. You know what I mean?
I had to put on a sweater.
So last year was actually one of the coldest winters we've had in a long time.
It was freezing
for
San Diego.
Yeah. So all the plants in our garden were kind of like
struggling.
We give up. Yeah.
Chugging.
Yeah, they just
Peace.
give up.
See you next year.
Yeah, we've got like all kinds of tropical plants, and it goes below freezing, and we're like, this is not good.
Yeah.
Now, what about bringing them inside, though? I know we're going off the rails, but I'm kind of curious about this.
I mean, if you have a smaller plant, sure. But, like, you know, assuming that I have a tree that's established for the past 10 years.
Oh.
that ain't going to come inside.
Lime trees.
But
they didn't like the frost.
You can wrap them with Christmas lights.
What?
Like, put Christmas lights on
Keeps
them.
it warm?
And then protect the roots with like a bag or something, and it can get through a San Diego winter or California winter. It's a little bit colder.
That's a nice trick.
Yeah. Just make sure it's not you don't want them on leaves. It'll burn the leaves, but
makes sense.
Just it emanates heat,
just enough.
Yeah.
And
it's like Goldilocks. It keeps it just right.
Yeah. So,
Tyler, I think Star's the person you're going to want to contact in case we get a hard winter this year. And be like, dude, what do I need to do to keep my garden alive?
Dude, you're not kidding, man. All my strawberry plants. I love strawberries, and they hate the frost.
Strawberries grow wild up here, so that's always been a thing where you just walk out into the yard with the little ones, and wild strawberries actually grow all over the place up here. And yeah, that's neat.
Awesome. Out here, I have them in a little growing bin, and they don't get very huge because of the space that they're in, and the frost comes, and they absolutely hate it.
We got one strawberry strain. We actually use the hanging plants, or the hanging basket things. You put the seeds all around it, and we actually have it inside all the time. And we'll get probably about 3 dozen strawberries off it. But when they start getting bigger, they start to over ripen really fast. Now I know why, people put straw down or hay underneath them, because it creates a bed and soft for them. We'll replant this probably 2 times a year and have fresh strawberries going year round that literally my daughters will devour in an afternoon. But still,
we should have a special episode where we talk about growing plants.
Yeah, I want a picture of your strawberries too, please.
Okay.
Growing plants with Pixels After Dark.
That's a stream I can get behind.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
You know what? It's a springtime one. We can do that for sure. We could talk about what plants survive through the winter, how our perennials work.
The zucchinis every time. They always survive.
They're robust.
Now I want to draw just a happy tree enveloped in Christmas lights and with a little scarf around,
I'm going to remember that because we have a lime tree and they don't like the frost either. So I'm going to remember the Christmas lights and see.
Do I actually have a lime tree?
Yeah.
We had a pear tree, and that thing could survive through anything, but I've never seen a lime tree.
So that is the one thing I will give California. Avocado trees, indestructible out here. They grow everywhere. So, fun story. This is completely off topic, but one time we went camping. It was a little bit up north. It was towards Santa Barbara, and there's an avocado orchard. And me and my hooligan friends decided to steal some avocados from the orchard. Well, we planted the seeds in the campground that we were staying at, and we went back 5 years later, and they had actually grown in the campground, completely unattended. No one took care of these things, and they full on grew. And I was really happy about it.
I would like some of those seeds. I tried growing out here, and everything just withers. It'll sprout, it'll break, and then you'll see a little bit of green, and then it turns brown.
It's that desert climate out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, a good summer will do just the same thing that a good winter will do.
We Very true.
Well, all right. Well, I think we're to the part of the show where we ask our guests to humor us with a 60-second challenge. If you're down, you down with that, Star?
I guess I have my pencil here.
Okay. All right. Just to give you just a brief rundown, we usually ask the chat, whoever's with us still, to suggest really anything. And usually it's like a menagerie of things just kind of mixed together, like a big old melting pot of suggestions, like a ninja hamster, for example.
I saw that.
Yep, that was a good one. It's like the go-to reference.
Stuff.
But if anybody in chat would like to suggest maybe a subject or a couple subjects, please feel free. And this is on a 20-second delay, so it'll give it a minute. But Ruby will also be in charge of the timer. She's already got it up. Drop Vanilla Orchid.
Yeah.
Whoa, yeah.
With a
From
little
memory.
I full on support. Irresolute, man, you
Yeah.
are a champion.
All right. So
Wrapped in
is that
a
what-
happy
Is it going to
warm
be just
scarf.
a vanilla orchid, or are we going
Drinking
to
some
incorporate
coffee.
anything else?
I mean, like, it might not be the craziest one we've had, but it would be really cool to see.
You know, I'd say a vanilla orchid with Christmas lights, but it's kind of hard to do with
I
a
was
pencil
gonna
in
say
60 seconds.
Yeah.
happy little plant with a warm scarf and drinking some coffee or hot chocolate.
A vanilla orchid. snowman.
Is that cannibalism for plants?
Can you draw a picky eater orchid?
Picky little plants, yes.
Picky little plant.
I don't
know
even
how you
know.
would do. I don't even know how you would wrap your head around that one.
That
That's
seems
cute.
really extreme.
I am
right.
super bad with like cutesy expressive on the spot
Oh,
stuff.
it's
so-
okay. It's okay. Just
All
a
right, we'll
vanilla
go with the
plant.
vanilla orchid. Yeah.
Vanilla. I'd be really curious. We'll have to Google image search after to see how close it is.
Yes.
All right. So that's what we're doing. Let me know
That's
when
what
I'm
we're doing.
started.
Yeah.
All right then. I'll give
Good
you a
job,
3
Rez.
second. Yes. I'll give you a 3-second countdown, and how do I usually say it? 3, 2, 1, go, and then on go you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Ready?
Sure.
3, 2, 1, go. I'll give you a heads up when you're halfway, and then when you got 10 seconds left.
I'm totally looking up a vanilla orchid, and it's awesome. Also, fun fact, I didn't know the beans look like that.
Oh no. There you go.
30 seconds in.
Oh no. It's gonna be so bad.
It's okay.
He's like, no.
That's all right. I'm not drawing the flower. I'm just drawing the stalk, the vine.
That's fine.
It looks
10
like
seconds.
a green bean. Like, I'm looking at these images,
3,
and it makes me
2,
want a green bean.
1. Pencil down.
All right. It's tiny and it's terrible, but
Aw.
it's just a little vine with the leaves.
Is that the bean growing next to like
No,
No?
that's
It's
it.
like a little
It's a root.
searcher.
It's a root,
Oh.
actually. They
Oh,
grow out of the same where the leaves are.
That's so cool. And that's how it attaches itself and grows up.
It does. It produces like a glue-like substance that sticks to the tree.
Interesting. Yeah. I feel like that plant has a lot of character, just its existence.
Dude, orchids. Each one is a whole different experience.
Like the individual one is different from the next.
I was thinking more like species-wise, but
Okay.
I mean, there's over 30,000 different kinds, so
Holy moly.
yeah, and there's a new one found every year. Whatever they
Really?
say. Yeah.
Wow.
It's definitely
This is
intense.
totally random, but me and my wife took our honeymoon in Belize, and we knew her favorite flower is an orchid, and we knew it was going to be a good trip because on our first trip out into the jungle, because we were going to go see these Mayan ruins, there was this huge black orchid that was growing in one of the trees, and it was like, I've never seen them growing wild. You just see them in stores in California. So to see it just like completely wild and natural, I was like, oh my gosh, it was so beautiful. Cool. Yeah.
You should, if you ever get the chance to go to a big orchid show, they will try to make it look kind of like it does in the wild. Like they'll have full on pieces, branches of trees, and they'll grow them on it for show orchids.
I've seen people grow different species on the same piece of driftwood and hang it from the ceiling or above a mantle or something like that. And I really want to try that.
All around my workspace, man, I have pieces of wood with just plants growing on them all around my desktop and everything.
Dude, that's awesome.
It's good vibes for drawing, for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine. That sounds really cool.
But I wish I had a green thumb. It's pretty black.
YouTube videos, man. YouTube videos.
Oh, rubies.
Well, thank you so much for doing that. Be sure to take a picture of it and send it to Tyler, Ruby, or I, and we'll put it in our Google Drive. We're still hunting down a few that we never grabbed, but we're going to do something with all of them. So,
okay.
And it could be, you never know. It could be the August cover of a calendar,
My terrible little sketch of a plant.
Yeah, we're sure to put your name right next to a big, bold, 32 font, boom, right there.
That's as big as the drawing.
Multiple screenshots of your face to put bigger next to the photo. It's fine.
Yeah. But thank you for doing that. It's always so much fun doing the 60-second challenge, and I really appreciate everybody, being good sports and going along with it. And I really, I think you got off easy on that one with the vanilla orchid.
I did.
Because we've had some crazy suggestions. People rifle stuff off. I mean, Lucky Khan wasn't in here because he can really just dish out ideas left and right. Do a samurai tuna hybrid with a rainbow trout that's also a chef on fire.
Yep. On fire.
But anyways, before we take off, and we're at the end of the show, is there any tips or suggestions that you would like to share with anybody as a final thought?
Art 1-2.
Look it up. Learn it. Love it.
Learn it, practice it, apply it, and then venture off into your own little wonderland of art experiences. You can say screw the rules after you've learned them.
Picasso. Isn't that what he did?
Picasso, yeah, he said it took him a moment to draw like a master, but a lifetime to draw like a child.
Yeah.
That's silliness.
That profile.
But
be on a shirt.
I think it is on a shirt.
Probably not be surprised.
Should get some of those shirts. No, we should make our own shirt. Put it on the back, just right across the back. No,
but it'll say Art 1-2. Art 1-2.
Actually, I would kind of dig that. That would be actually kind of fun. Art 1-2, and only the people that listen will actually know what it means. You're onto something.
That's
You're a genius. Genius.
Probably every art teacher would know too. They'd be like, yeah.
And then we might get a potential listener. These damn high school kids, they never listen.
Dude, even I struggle listening now, and I've been out of high school for a long time. All right. But Star, thank you so much for coming on with us. It's been a blast having you on. I'm so glad you did, and I really enjoyed our conversation. If anytime in the future you want to come back on and hang out with us more, you're more than welcome anytime.
That would be chill. Yes. This was way less scary than I thought it was going to be.
Awesome.
It's always a little shaky starting, but once you get going, it's fine. It's like, pop starting a car. You know, if you've done that and you don't have a hill and you're pushing, you got to push it, get it going, and then you're good. Just don't stop again.
For sure.
Yeah, but no. And also thank you everybody for hanging out with us tonight. If you want to follow us for updates on our Twitter, Pixels After Dark. Also follow us on Twitch if you're not already. And we'll see you next time.
Real quick, where can people find you?
I forgot about that.
Honestly,
you're good.
Twitter at Yildunstar is really the only thing that matters, I guess, at this point. Which, that's where you guys know me at. So that's
true,
it.
True.
That's the one. I used to advertise my Instagram, but now it's become mostly just my photography and some mostly my Instagram is Yildunstar as well. And it's my photography mostly. And then I'll post about my plants and stuff too here and there. So I guess
good blend.
Yeah, I'm like, that's sweet.
I dig that.
Yeah.
One last thing.
Yeah.
Before we leave, how'd you come up with your name?
Everyone always asks me. That's a weird story. There was a gal that I had a crush on in school a long time ago, and she was not allowed to talk to me. We couldn't be interested in each other. So we would write to each other with pen names, and I was trying to come up with something, I don't know, interesting. I was a nerd and read a lot of books and stuff. So anyways, I learned that there's a Turkish word for one of the stars in Ursa Minor, I think, where one of the stars is called Yıldın, and it's a Turkish word, I guess.
Interesting.
I don't know a lot about it.
I would have thought Norse. The way the Y sounds, but yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It was a long time ago. Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. And so at some point, I just ended up I had wrote it so many times that I was like Yildunstar, and then star, and I was like, I'm just gonna put that as my quick little Xbox 360 gamer tag, and then that stuck.
It's beautiful. I love it.
I was about to say
it sounds so nice.
Really cool.
It sounds really nice.
Thank you, and I like it better than I think my name for the most part when it comes to art and stuff. So.
Well, it's better than XXX 360 no scope Brad. XXX.
Oh.
You see a lot of those.
Yeah. Cringy.
Underscore 720.
So much cringe. Yes.
Yeah. Now, there's one more question that we forgot to ask is when you're working on a piece, what kind of music do you listen to?
He half answered.
Or what do
that.
you listen to? It was a half answer.
But
I'm all over the place, but man, I would say my favorite artist right now, and that's loosely said because that's a tough question. That's a tough. You can't pick a favorite.
Everyone has a top 10. Yeah.
Right. But I'd say the thing that I listen to the most is Fleet Foxes. I am obsessed with Fleet Foxes, and I've had the chance to see them in concert twice, and I did not. Very upsetting. But I used to listen, I still do, but Bon Iver a lot. Kind of like that indie folk, more like modern indie folk, alternative, I don't know what you call that. But, any classic rock song, I'll know it. And soundtracks. There's a movie really goes well with the plants thing. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but you ever heard of The Medicine Man? It's with Sean Connery. It's a Technicolor movie, so it's it's really pretty. It's a movie that not a lot of people know about, but the soundtrack is incredible. And Sean Connery is this doctor who's out in the Amazon trying to
Dude, I've seen this. Okay,
I was about to say,
I
if
know
anyone's
exactly.
seen it, Joe's gonna have seen it.
It's incredible, and no one's seen it, and it's so underrated. He's trying to find the cure for cancer, and he accidentally finds it, and then loses it. and it's so good. And the soundtrack is incredible.
Medicine Man.
Dude, I have not seen or heard this movie mentioned since like the mid 90s.
You can't find it on stream anywhere. Like,
I remember this. This was the one where she drank the like the orange drink, and it was people that spit in it. Well, there was a scene in it from that.
Yes, there is. Absolutely.
I remember this. I remember
it was great. I got a download of it at one point, and I was like, I watched it so much because I was so stoked that I had the download of it, and I don't have that download anymore. And man, trying to find it stuff without having to like, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could buy it, but I don't know.
Who does that?
It's probably still on VHS somewhere. I mean,
probably. It's a little like it's needs to be remastered. It's a little older,
This is Sean Connery with a ponytail. I mean, this has got to be somewhere. Like, this is it. This was a really good movie. It really was.
Yeah, and the soundtrack's amazing.
I forget the ending, but I remember just key parts through the movie, and I can't remember the ending.
Forest burns down.
You really should start a second podcast for movies.
I can talk about movies all day.
Second,
there you go.
Third.
Oh yes, sorry.
There's a
fourth, fifth. Who's counting?
Same subject. I brought it up earlier. Blade Runner.
Never made it through the movie.
It's a tough movie to get through. I don't blame anyone for not enjoying it because it's long and it's slow.
It's the tone that's through it. It's like this. So the only parts, like if I can make it through to the interrogation parts where he's going after the replicants, like seeing if they are one.
Yeah.
If I make it to that part will wake me up. And then there's another scene. If I make it to that next scene, I can stay through it. But if I don't, then that's it. I'll end up falling asleep.
Tension cues in a movie.
The new one.
Mm-hmm. I just started it the other day. Actually, I think it was like Saturday night. I was watching it on the couch after playing some games one night, and I'm just getting to the part where they're mentioning Harrison Ford's character. And they're getting into it. I like this one. It's definitely got your attention more through this movie than the first one. Like, I'm going to be really curious where they're going with it because they just found the crate in the ground and did the like he found the imprint on the bone and it went back to Harrison Ford's character. So they got that tie in now. So now I'm just into that part. I'll finish watching, dude.
It's
I'm gonna watch it the rest of it tonight.
So good. My friend is obsessed. Has one of the actual like blaster props from the original Blade Runner. I like got into that movie. Soundtrack is incredible. And I was on a road trip from New England because I was living in New England for a while. And the same friend came to pick me up and all of my junk and helped me drive back to San Diego from Rhode Island. Yeah, but we were like, you know what? Let's make a trip of it. I've never been to the national parks up in the north, so we're gonna go up there. And we stopped by my friends in Minneapolis who we game with. We went to Yellowstone, all that, but we went to Seattle where one of our other clanmates worked for Microsoft there, and it was the same week that the new Blade Runner came out. And we were super stoked about it. Like it was the only thing that was on our mind was seeing the new Blade Runner, especially since we were so obsessed with the first one. We were really worried, but also really excited. It was it was like a midnight showing of it. And it was in a theater that's in one of the high rises in downtown Seattle. It was in the middle of the night. It was raining, but not like hard raining. It was like sprinkling and all the lights and neon lights like reflected the light on the sprinkles. It almost looked like a snow kind of rain. And we watched this movie
being in Blade Runner.
I was just like in tears because I was like this movie's so beautiful. And I walked outside and I just had the soundtrack playing in my head. And I'm like, there's not a better place I could be to watch this movie right now. Like,
no, the way you described it, that's like one for one. Like you just walked out of that movie.
That soundtrack fuels a lot of my inspiration in life, I think.
That's very cool. You know what? You're the second or third person that draws inspiration from the Blade Runner soundtrack. I think Ace is another person that did. I think Clint was another one that did. I know there was another one early on, another person that dropped Blade Runner, and it really is a great soundtrack. I love, so much inspiration you can get from movies or from soundtracks and this and that. People like almost like look down at them like, oh, it's a movie soundtrack. Why would you, dude? My first CD was the Speed soundtrack. That was my first CD growing up. That if that dates me at all. When you had to actually carry the full portable CD player, the old school Walkmans.
Yeah, was that 1930s?
It was 1950s. Give me a little credit. She's not that much older than you, but that was my first. I've always been into movie soundtracks. Like me and my brother growing up, we're always you'd look through and friends would be like, "Oh, what kind of music do you have?" And they'd look through and we had to actually buy some music from current people and then some dated stuff. So people would stop questioning all of our soundtrack, CDs that we had, everything from Transformers to movies. Dude, there were some really great, just composed works in all of those. And a lot of the games nowadays, oh man, if I could draw inspiration from one song from the Destiny franchise, it's the Whisper of the Worm Green Room.
It's good. That's good.
It's got so that good. 8-bit type sound to it. And it's so old school and reminiscent of just an era of gaming that has passed. And I love how they captured it, and I love how they offered it for free with the Bungie rewards. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I saw that on Twitter, I was just I had to get on and grab it real quick, and I love it. It's good stuff. That's my rant. That's where I'm ending.
If I can give probably my favorite song from the Destiny soundtrack, it's a Young Wolf, the song that plays when you're doing DPS to the boss in Wrath of the Machine. Yeah. That is my favorite raid as far as
Axis,
the experience of the Axis. I think, right?
Yep.
That raid as an experience was I loved it. And that's the song that plays. I felt, you feel like a guardian during that battle.
That raid was the beginning of a new transition in the Destiny raids for mechanics. Because if you go back and you saw how you would progress through a raid, Wrath of the Machine was different from the rest because how the encounters went, how they incorporated you starting in with it, dude, just how it operated was just, in my eyes, so different than Crota, Vault of Glass, or King's Fall at that point. And I think they got a lot of praise from the community and fans about that raid, that they carried some of those okay, people dug that. Okay, let's see what else we get. Unfortunately, the next one was Leviathan, and not much you could do with that, but
I didn't like Leviathan. I liked Eater of Worlds though, but I did not like Leviathan.
I didn't like Eater of Worlds. Spire, I will pay somebody not to play that one. It was just, I did
paying
it
other
once.
People not to play, huh?
Yep. I'll give you a free coffee or $5. Your choice, Tyler. You pick, man. Just to save the heartache that it's going to cause you. I've never played it, so you're good. Dude, it is just too much. But Eater of Worlds, it was such a cool, the skybox and everything, just the environment that they created for it. And when you would shoot yourself out of that cannon, it's probably the funnest part. And be like, oh, I missed one of these gates. Guess I got to jump off the side and start over. And you go back up and jump back out again. Dude, I'd be stuck there until people pulled me.
Well, and the boss is crazy looking,
dude, apparently now you can one-shot him.
Yeah, it's always funny.
Yeah, dude, somebody with the new power upgrades and everything that, and Thunder Shield, you can shoot through the shield now with the artifact. And there's something else you can do that you can literally you can kill him before you even get to phase 1, which is ridiculous.
Sign me up. That's
Sign me up.
I'm in. I want
15-minute raid, in, out, done, going to the tower, getting my loot.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Wow, we went off the rails really hardcore.
I have no problem with that.
All right. Well, we could literally sit here for the next couple hours and just chit chat, and I would love to, but I'm not sure how easy that would be to edit.
No worries.
But thank you everybody for hanging out with us tonight. We really appreciate it and all the support that you give us, and we will see you next time. Take care.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.